like from University Malaya, we have Dr. Donny. We have from MOE, Dr. Basharuddin, Nasruddin. We have representative from Federal Territory principals. One he. We have numbers from University Malaya. Other than our own staff, we have Prof Fong from University Malaysia Sabah. How are you, Prof Fong? How is UMS now?
Yes.
How are you? Thank you.
Hey, Prof. Suria. Thank you. Looking forward to the risk sharing.
Thank you for your presence. Yeah. We are waiting for Prof. Alma to join in. We have representative from IPG campus Bahasa Melayu there. Prof. Nik Mazuki, your line is clear, not Prof. Nik? You are in Besut, right? Prof. Nik Mazuki, boleh dengar ke? We will wait another few minutes to allow Prof. Alma from Swansea to join us. Hi, Dr. Mabel. How are you? From UCSI, right? Please unmute.
Hi, Prof. Suria.
Hi, how are you? You are from UCSI. UCSI still?
Yes,
Oh,
I'm still
thank
with
you.
UCSI.
Yeah, well done. So, how are you?
Shuhaila shared this webinar, so I'm joining you. So
Yeah,
nice to see you here.
Yeah, nice to see you back. Thank you so much. Yeah. We are still waiting for Prof. Alma to join.
It's very early over there, right?
Yeah, it's about 7:30 in the morning. But she agree with the time.
That's so nice of her.
Hi, Prof. Suria. Assalamualaikum.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hi, Prof. Yati. Thank you for joining. So
Happy to see you.
Yeah. Prof. Yati is our chairman for National Teaching and Learning Center Councils, what we call as Magnetic, and who looks after teaching and learning. And of course, during this MCO, we are so busy and we have meeting 24/7 actually. Prof. Dato, you want to say something? Say hi from India, people from India, from private universities,
Yeah.
UMS.
Thank you for joining us. From far, India, from private universities, I don't have time. I'm just going to share things from my small
Yeah, still waiting for Alma and few more coming. Thank you, Dr. Siti Halimah. Prof. Alma,
So,
Good morning.
good morning. Good afternoon for us. Good
Oh,
morning.
yes.
Uh, okay, Prof. Alma has joined in, and yeah, of course, there's participants coming in throughout our session. Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and welcome to everybody. Good morning, Prof. Alma. Sorry to wake you up.
Good morning from a sunny United Kingdom.
Oh, okay, well done. Okay, I am Suria Baba from University of Malaysia, Kelantan, and I'm very delighted to be joined by our two distinguished speakers, which is our Vice Chancellor of University of Malaysia, Kelantan, Professor Dato Dr. Technologist Noor Azizi bin Ismail, and from the other side of the globe, we have Professor Alma Harris. Thank you for joining, Prof. And you see there's numbers of your students is here. Say hi to Prof. Alma.
Hi, Prof. Alma. This is Mabel.
Hi, Mabel. Nice to see you. Smiling faces.
Yeah, and we have
Yes, we
Silaj.
miss you.
We have Silaj from New Delhi.
Hi,
Hi,
Prof.
Silesh. Good
Hi,
morning.
how are you? Good morning. Yeah, you
I'm good,
changed a
thank
lot.
you.
You have changed a lot.
Neither
And
of
we
you,
have
Silesh.
we still have numbers from Suria. Donnie is there, and we have a representative from Malaysia Mission Council of Teaching and Learning. We have a representative from the e-learning councils of our uh, Nation Public University. Prof. Fong from University of Malaysia Sabah is there. From Yati from UTM. We have all the participants, our our DVC research, Prof. Arham, the Dean, Prof. Roslina. We have from Dr. Mazuki, and there's a lot there. Yeah, but as I brush through numbers coming in, yeah, thank you for all who make time to join UMK talk series today. The title is in lockdown. And to our both distinguished speakers, Prof. Dato, the Vice Chancellor of UMK, and Professor Alma Harris, thank you so much for making time to meet us within this 1 hour. Right. Ladies and gentlemen, as we know, we are now in the global lockdown, and it has been 360 degrees that we have to remodel through the MCO, what we call here as a movement control order, or in other parts of the world they call it a lockdown, or we are still partially locked down. We are actually experiencing leading in difficult, challenging, and the unprecedented times where there is no certainty, and of course we doesn't know what's the end like to be, but requires a different type of leadership, a different form of leadership practice. We are still in the midst of a new education landscape that has been rebooted into total lockdown, which home-based education, techno-driven teaching and learning, and of course, total non-face-to-face interaction. And of course, this has made us to redefine, to repositioning education landscape in teaching and learning that totally bound into full online. So this is the scenario that happening currently. And of course, before we listen to the speakers, our distinguished speakers, in sharing their thoughts, their views on the title of Leadership in Lockdown, let me share with everyone here a short bio of our distinguished speakers. And I will go first with Professor Dato, Dr. Technologist Dr. Azizi bin Ismail. Currently is our Vice Chancellor of University of Malaysia, Kelantan. And Dato Noor Azizi is the former Deputy Director General, Ministry of Education. And he was also the former Deputy Vice Chancellor, Research and Innovation of University Utara Malaysia. And I trust he must be very proud that he was the founding Dean of OYA, Graduate Schools of Business of University Utara Malaysia. Throughout his career, he received numerous awards, the latest award was he was nominated or being awarded as 100 most inspirational LinkedIn icon. Congratulations, Dato. And yes, yeah, and he was being awarded as the Mover and Shakers Award, HRD Asia. And of course, under CMO Asia, he was awarded as Education Leadership. And amazingly, has been also been awarded as the All-American Scholar US Achievement Academy. We travel to the other side of the globe. Joining us today, Prof. Alma. And although her CV is so lengthy, but I'm able to give us the very short bio. Prof. Alma Harris is a world-renowned researcher and practitioner in the research area includes educational leadership, education policy, organizational change, school and system improvement. She has worked for the World Bank, contributing to development and research program that aims at supporting schools in challenging contexts in Russia. And Professor Harris is a visiting professor at the Moscow Higher School of Economics. Professor Harris is also the past president of the International Congress for School Effectiveness and School Improvement, ICSE, which is an organization that dedicated to enhance quality and equity education. And she was also an international advisor to the First Minister of Scotland. Currently, Prof. Alma is also a senior policy advisor for the Welsh government and now leading the national PLC program that involves all schools in Wales. Prof. Alma is very close to us in Malaysia, close to our heart. And Suhaila is here, Prof. Alma, because from 2012 to 2016, she was the director of the Institute of Educational Leadership at the University of Malaya. In fact, distributed leadership theory that she embraced is very important in our Malaysian Educational Blueprint Schools 2013-2025 and is an important part of the underpinning theory enhancing leadership framework here. So basically, Malaysian Educational Blueprint has been embracing DL as what you have been doing. But ladies and gentlemen, so we'll start our forum and it will done throughout an hour. And I would like to start with Yang Berbahagia, Dato Vice Chancellor. Dato Vice Chancellor, this is a very difficult time and a very challenging past few months. Can you please give us a sense of how you have been coping with this difficult time and can you share with us issues that you have been dealing with? Please welcome Dato.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Suria. Good afternoon to everyone and good morning to Professor Harris. I think it has been a wonderful time, I would say. I've tried to use a positive word. While we are going through crisis, I think things, of course, can be very uncertain, very unpredictable, and the environment is also very dynamic. When I say that the environment is more dynamic, it means that decisions sometimes change quite frequently. And when that happens, you know, in crisis, when the Prime Minister announced the lockdown on the 16th and the MCO to be effective on the 18th of March, that creates anxiety and panic, I think, among the staff and students. And when people are panicked, they kind of spread the fears. And sometimes I would say the fake news as well. So as the leader of the university, I think our role is to bring calm and assurance to our students and staff. And in that sense, we need to make decisions pretty quickly and need to be communicated effectively. So in this case, I think as a university, a public university, we need to listen to the Ministry of Higher Education as well. And while at the same time we had some autonomy that whereby we can make our own decisions. So we need to balance between those two. But what's important, I learned through that the first 1 week is that it is very important to have one voice, meaning that decisions can only be made by the management committee of the university, checked by the vice chancellor. So that because we don't want everyone, too many parties to, to share different decisions, etc. So what I meant here is that we need to have one voice which can be channeled through various platforms. And at that time, I think in the first week, we met almost daily. We communicate with the Ministry of Higher Education, we listen to the Ministry of Health, and we get inputs from various parties in the university. And at the same time, we prepared what we call the scenario planning. We have like 4 or 5 scenarios. So that is very important, because when things happen, we are ready and we can make decisions quickly, etc. So to me, it was a wonderful experience. The first 2 weeks it was quite challenging, but after that things are much calmer and people start accepting the fact that we'll be locked down for that period of time, and now it has been extended we are in the 4th phase of lockdown. So before I end, I think here strong teamwork is very, very important. We have a very strong team. We have Deputy Vice Chancellor for students, because the first thing that we need to do is to calm down the students who are still in campus. And we work closely with the student reps. We have wonderful student reps, I can tell you, that who help the management to talk to their colleagues, to their peers. Easier for us for them to do that compared to us in the management. And we also have the Deputy Vice Chancellor Academy, where we know that the lockdown will be extended and things like that. Then we will have to go for full online. Then the academic need to work with the deans, and of course Prof. Suria, who's the head for our e-learning initiative. So everyone has started to work, and we communicate frequently, effectively, and at the same time the Deputy Vice Chancellor for Research also lead the team, because we need to be more creative, we need to be more innovative when in time of crisis. So everyone is played their role. The registrar office will taking care of the staff, and the health department of the university also played a very critical role. And we always communicate all the time, and I think that brings somehow calm and assurance to the staff and students. So I think we learn a lot from that process. So I'm there at the moment. Okay.
Thank you so much, Dato. I can see that you are so positive in putting the crisis into one direction by having the top management to work together, and of course whatever decision come with one voice. Thank you so much, Dato. And now we wish to listen to Prof. Alma on issues that has been pressing among leaders in an institution from your observation and from your write-up. Please, Prof. Alma.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Suria, and good afternoon to all my dear friends in Malaysia, which I miss very much. It's a pleasure to be here and have the opportunity to talk to you about leadership in lockdown. The first thing I have to say is that the context has changed dramatically across the globe, but leadership hasn't changed. And while the context is more challenging and we are more distant and remote than ever before, really leadership remains leadership. And what we know about effective leadership is that effective leaders have a clarity of purpose. They have an optimism that's just been demonstrated by your Vice Chancellor, and they have a sense of hope that things will actually return to some sort of normality. So I think the first thing I want to say is that leadership in lockdown is just effective leadership, and that essentially that encompasses the same characteristics as any other time. But we are in challenging times, so it's important that we recognise the degree of the challenge. One of the things about leadership is the importance of recognising relationships. Now, we're in a remote set of circumstances, so leadership is a little bit more challenging because of that. It hasn't changed fundamentally. And your Vice Chancellor talked about clarity of purpose, and I think having that very clear vision of where the organisation is going is absolutely right. The second thing he said was about having one voice, and I think that's also really important, that the messages don't get mixed up. It's critically important that communication is 100% clear, as any misinformation can be misinterpreted and misread. So in lockdown, I guess, if we look at the schools and we look at teachers at the moment, I mean, they're finding it incredibly challenging because our schools, in a sense, haven't closed. We've still got hubs operating, which means that the children of our health workers are still going to school. So teachers are still in schools. But it does mean that in those schools, they're operating clearly a social distancing policy. So that makes it a much more challenging environment, I think, than we've ever seen before in the schooling sector, in the university sector, and right across the globe. But here's the thing, you mentioned it already, Suria. One of the key characteristics of effective leadership in any times, with any challenges, is teamwork, the ability to mobilize people to the same common purpose. And I guess I call that distributed leadership. Other people will call it shared leadership. But the important point is that everyone feels that they have something to contribute, however small, but they are part of the solution and not part of the problem. Now, underlining all that, of course, is trust and the importance of trusting relationships between individuals. What there is no certainty. There is no blueprint for this. We are every day leading ourselves forward to sort of clarity. But here's sort of three things I think are really important. Your Vice Chancellor mentioned the importance of calm. And I think great leaders at this time, whether they're political leaders or educational leaders, are demonstrating calm to this particular crisis. And also assurances that things will return to some sort of normality. But meanwhile, we can be optimistic. There are things that we can do. 8 weeks ago, we were in a state of shock at this particular lockdown. 8 weeks later, somehow we've adjusted. And that's the human spirit. We can adjust, and leaders adjust, and people adjust, even though the context has changed. So there are three things I just want to share about leadership in lockdown. The first is that leadership in lockdown has to be caring leadership, because people at a distance are feeling all sorts of anxieties and family pressures and other sorts of pressures. So leadership has to be more caring, probably, and understanding than it was previously. The second thing that we've witnessed certainly in the United Kingdom, and no doubt in Malaysia as well, is community leadership. We've seen communities come together in adversity to help each other. And that's whether it's an educational community or a broader community. But I think the third thing, and the most important thing, is that we've seen creative leadership. We've seen leadership that is innovative, that is adaptable, that is very agile. We've not seen problems like this before, but we are solving those problems on a daily basis. So the leadership that we're seeing is agile, is accommodating, but is ultimately creative and innovative, because the problems that we're facing cannot be solved by routine ways of doing things. So I guess for me, while the context has changed dramatically, the basic principles of good leadership remain the same. Clear vision, sense of purpose, taking people with you, building the capacity for change in this new environment through technology. And I guess, you know, the other thing I want to say is technology, as we can see, is a wonderful tool, but it'll never ever replace one-to-one interaction. So we've got to remember that relationships are the most important thing in leadership, and being able to maintain those relationships online is critically important in the weeks and maybe the months ahead. So my final comments are, we need, as leaders at all levels in the system, we need self-care and a little bit of compassion, because these are tough times. We need compassion for ourselves, first and foremost, and we need compassion for other people, because you never know what anyone is facing, and the challenges are acute. So compassion for oneself and one's colleagues. But I think the overriding reflection that I have is that from the chaos initially has come a calm, and from the calm has come a strange sense of coherence. And that coherence is almost global as we get to grips with the new challenges and the new forms of leadership we are seeing. So like your Vice-Chancellor, I'm incredibly optimistic. While I'm not a great fan of lockdown, I'm certainly seeing forms of communication, forms of leadership, and people's just ingenuity to make this work. And that's what leadership is ultimately. It's influence. We've all got influence, and we're all just making this work.
Thank you, Prof. Alma. Well, it's so long that we haven't heard your talk. That's why I think many of us so impressed with what you have shared. And of course, there are a lot of keywords that we should take from your advice. Like Prof. Dato, Vice Chancellor has addressed teamwork, one voice, caring. And all those characteristics are very important during this crisis. And then, of course, within the theories, Prof. Alma and Dato, Vice Chancellor, a practitioner, there's a match between both of you, and it seems that we are going towards into one direction. Well, of course, challenges is still challenges, right? But maybe Dato would like to share you are thinking the challenges could be a positive way of dealing with the pressure that you have. Can you just share with us, Dato? How you put it, this situation as the situation of opportunity. Please welcome.
I think I lost part of your
question.
Connection.
Okay.
Yeah. Can you say it again?
Okay, sorry, Dato. This in time of crisis, we have to adapt and adopt with the new situation, and of course there are challenges. But knowing you that you always think about, it's not a challenge, but you put it as a opportunities in putting the situation into a good environment, good situation that you have to move on. Can you share with us your thoughts?
With you, while we try to overcome whatever challenges that we are facing, at the same time, as a leader, I think we need to look at or to search for or to create opportunities. And I have seen that there are lots of opportunities for us to bring the new norms, the change to the universities. We have been talking about bringing change to UMK. And somehow, I think I see it as a blessing that this lockdown has enabled us to bring that desired changes that we wanted to bring. And I would like to quote what Robin Sharma said in his book, Leader Without a Title, that turbulent times build creativity. And I have seen that, during this 2 months' time, we have seen at UMK those who voluntarily and bravely step forward with new ideas. That is one. There's a new group of these people, which we do not know that they have that kind of capabilities and capacity to do that. And of course, there's another group that we will just wait and see. Who will follow the first group that I mentioned just now? They are the mover, the first one, and then who will move the wait and see groups to come together. And the third one, probably those who, I'm going to say this, those who talk a lot during the normal time, suddenly when become a bit quiet and hard to find them, you know, and those smaller group crying for, blaming, you know, on what's happening. So in that regard, if you really observe, then I think you can identify leaders who are true leaders or potential leaders that can work for the institution, those who put institution first. So in that regard, you know, I remember if I think most of you may have heard or read a book, Who Moved My Cheese? You know, there are 4 characters, curry, sniff, ham, and haw. And, you know, during this lockdown, I have revisited many books. One of those is Who Moved My Cheese, just trying to understand how to, you know, to bring these small groups, the 3rd and 4th group that I mentioned just now, to be in the mainstream. And also the approach, I revisited a book by John Cotter on Our Iceberg is Melting, on how to convince that you know, a small group in that of the penguins trying to convince the whole colony of the penguins to move to the new iceberg. So those books which I have read about a decade ago comes into life, and I try to apply that because I'm not coming from the management and leadership background, but the way I see it, you know, those books do help me a lot in guiding me to lead the institution. And you know, I'll give you one example. When there's a possibility for a lockdown in Malaysia, we know that we are going to be short of, or we're going to need lots of hand sanitizers. And so I remember that I asked the senior director of the research management office, can we do this in-house? And that first initiative that we do, we became, I would say, probably the first university in Malaysia to start doing it for internal purpose. And from there, that stimulates or cultivates others to be more creative. And I think within the last 2 months, we have created 7, 8 products, which, you know, will never happen without this crisis. And that shows that, you know, from the research perspective, it guides us to become more relevant. You know, normally academics, we really focus on the theoretical part, but now is the best time for us to actually translate the theory into practice. The same goes to another big impact of this crisis is the learning, the e-learning. You know, we have been talking in Senate, for example, that we try to reduce the face-to-face, probably from 100% to 75% to 50%, because I believe that we need to give students more opportunity to be exposed to the real world. How to do that is that by giving them the opportunity to learn more by themselves. And of course, the acceptance of the lecturers are quite varies. Some are very supportive, some not, you know, by giving various reasons. But with this lockdown, nobody has an excuse anymore. You know, everyone has to prepare in terms of the readiness, in terms of the content, the technical, and there are many other things. And suddenly we know that where we are when it comes to the online or e-learning, and even in terms of the internet coverage. The best thing of this is that, you know, UMK is in Kelantan. In terms of internet coverage, we are probably the lowest in Malaysia. And UMK itself, compared to other universities, we are, in terms of the bandwidth, the speed, etc., we are among with the lowest speed. And now that has came to the attention that we need to invest, and also has to invest, and not only the Ministry of Higher Education, but also the Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation. So this lockdown somehow has wake up people in various departments, ministries, etc. And I remember the Minister of Mostly said that we need to invest on this internet coverage, for example. So that is why I see, when I talk to Prof. Suria, I see many positive things than the negative sides of this lockdown. You know, it's kind of a stimulus for us to be more creative, to be more innovative, and to bring the change that our higher education much needed. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Dato. It's so inspirational from your thought that you have put forward. Learning from Prof. Vice Chancellor, he has addressed how we have to put into consideration about what is happening outside. How do we deal with the student, how we deal with the staff, and how we deal with the infrastructures and infrastructure. And with a very clear mindset, Vice Chancellor able to put things in the right place, on the right track, so that everything will be moved on. And I'm very much happy to hear about investing on the e-learning, which is actually very timely now, and it actually really matters to the university and also to the community. And of course, the thought that Prof. Vice Chancellor has put actually matched with what Prof. Alma has addressed earlier, the characteristic of a good leaders, a positive leaders. Maybe Prof. Alma, can you just combine this thing and put forward what Prof. Dato VC has just addressed? Thank you.
Yes, I mean, I think that was a really good explanation of how universities are responding to this sort of change. And in many respects, universities are leading the way, because the volume of students that they've got and the challenges they face, moving them onto online platforms has been a huge endeavor. But you know, they've managed to get to a point where the learning experience of students has not been eradicated by this current crisis. So, I mean, my own view is that universities are showing some of the best practices and the best innovations during lockdown. I was thinking, as your Vice Chancellor was talking about moving the cheese and Cotter's work, I was thinking, well, what would I recommend as two books that actually speak to this particular lockdown? And the first is, and it speaks to the challenges, back to your question, Dr. Suria. The first is a book by Steve Mumby, and I can give you the reference to this, and it's called Imperfect Leadership. Imperfect Leadership. And I think that's where we are. No leadership right now is perfect. Our political leadership certainly isn't, well, at least in the UK. And you know, our leadership of organizations is imperfect, because we cannot predict what might happen. So therefore we're in an imperfect world. So I'd recommend Imperfect Leadership. The other book I think I would recommend to colleagues out there, and they might have read it already, is by Andy Hargreaves and Michael Fullen, and it's called Professional Capital. And it talks about the way in which you can build, even in times of crisis like this, professional capital to do things differently. And by capital, that means human capital, social capital, and also the third very important dimension to this is emotional capital. Because one thing we haven't talked about to date is we haven't talked about resilience. And really what we're seeing around the globe is enormous resilience from ordinary people, from young people, from our leaders, to just carry on doing what they're doing and doing what they do best. So for me, I think there are 4 challenges that this crisis has actually unearthed. And the first is the challenge of time. What do we do with our time? Because our time was very structured before, and now it's fairly unstructured, or it's differently structured. So there's the issue of time. Time has taken on a different dimension in terms of what we would normally spend our time doing: social time, work time, etc. The second challenge is that of space. You know, we've suddenly reconnected globally over a new sort of space, which is a virtual space, which doesn't have any parameters or any constraints. The third challenge, and I think this is a fairly common one, is the challenge of capability. Because before this happened, my capability to use Zoom and Google Chat and everything else was fairly limited. You know, I didn't really know anything about Microsoft Teams, and now I'm an expert on it, because suddenly we had to use this technology to communicate. So, you know, the fundamental challenges are there, and your Vice Chancellor also talked about the challenges of resources. Not everybody's got a laptop, not everybody's got internet. And there's the digital divide out there that we have to also remember. But the converse of that is, given those challenges, we've seen enormous creativity and resilience to make this work. And we're learning every day, you know, learning new technologies, learning how to be, I suppose, in this current context. One of the things we've learned about leadership, though, and you see it in the political leadership, we've seen some very bad leadership internationally, and we've seen some very good leadership internationally. And one of the questions was that we see that there are certain female leaders who have shown and demonstrated very effective leadership on the global stage. And why is that? Well, my response to that is nothing to do with gender. It's actually, I think women are less likely to rush to solutions and want to solve the problem. I think the important thing that any good leader needs to do in this context is to understand the problem first, not to rush to solutions. If you understand the problem in all its complexities, you've got a greater chance of solving that problem. So rushing to solutions, as we've seen, or making promises is not the way forward. It's calm, considerate, cool leadership, I suppose, that gets us there. I mean, the final thing I wanted to say is, you know, universities have responded to this in unprecedented ways. I mean, the challenge of getting all our students online, which is what we've been facing, the potential challenge of not starting the semester when we normally start it, the challenge of getting students through exams, the challenge of admitting students in September are huge. But what we're seeing universities doing is they're rising to those challenges, and some of them are solved by technological responses, but also I think there's a definite mindset shift around this virus that basically says universities now are open places. They're not spaces where people come and learn. They are just an open space for learning. And I think our students are really benefiting from what we talked about months ago. Or maybe we'll put one of our programs online. Well, that's gone, because now all our programs have to be online. So I guess, you know, Kuhn talks about a paradigm shift. This is a paradigm shift. The media here, as your media in Malaysia, of course, you know, are preoccupied with going back to normal. But there will be no going back to normal. This is the new normal. And I think what your Vice Chancellor has said is what we should do is not try and reinvent the past, but invent the future. And in that respect, we are already inventing it, and we will not go, universities won't go back to the way they were before. In fact, if they did that, it would be a retrograde step. You know, we've made this huge leap forward now with online e-learning technology. Our students will be different. They will be digitally competent in ways that we hadn't even imagined. So I'm optimistic that out of a crisis, never waste a good crisis. I can't remember who said that, but never waste a good crisis, but certainly capitalize on it. And I think our university sector is a shining example of how you can really capitalize on a crisis and move an entire sector forward in ways that would have been unimaginable just a few short months ago.
Thank you, Prof. Alma. Yeah, I think that's true enough that there are difficult times when we began to think outside the standard boxes and rethinking what's next. And of course, you have shared a few characteristics that we should embrace and we should address that so that we can move forward. And of course, we will try to get the books that you have recommended, especially from Andy Hargreaves, Professional Capital. And of course, we'll see about the emotional capital, which is also very important. And the bottom line, when we're going through this crisis, is that we have to look through what is in context in our environment and be able to go through towards what we have been facing through. Well, it's the time's running quite fast actually, Prof. Alma. I know you're still in the morning. We are going towards evening actually now. So before we end, can you, Prof. Dato and also Prof. Alma, can you share any advice of your thoughts from your observation, from your write-up, from your experience, any levels of leaders? We have top management leader, we have middle leaders, we have the underground leaders and so forth. Can you just give few tips, few advice that I think there's a numbers of teachers here from federal territory, and I saw from Johor, from MRSM, they are our young leaders that needs advice from our experience, like from Dato, the Vice Chancellor, and also from Prof. Alma, who has spelled out good enough for us to go through this crisis. And of course, we doesn't know what's happened next, but I think with the fundamental understanding, with the fundamental adapting the leadership skill that will make us move in a better situation. Can you just give some advice before we end up, Prof. Dato?
Okay, thank you, Prof. Suria. First, I think change is not an option. It is the only option. So having a positive mindset is a must, right, and to be successful. And for the Malaysian colleagues, I would like to share, I think the most, if not one of the most, if not the most popular figure for the past 2 months is Dr. Noor Hisham Abdullah, the Director General of Health in Malaysia, because he appeared almost every day. I said that he just missed one day over the last 2 months. And I have been observing his speech, and I think that he's a great leader from my eyes. And I try to put down what are the characteristics of Dr. Noor Hisham that we can learn from. First is, if you look at his communication skill, it is excellent. The tone, the volume, the clarity, and how he repeats the important points. And this one, I try to relate to what Judith Humphrey in her book, Speaking as a Leader, exactly what been matched to what Dr. Noor Hisham when it comes to communication skills. And he also uses various platforms, including social media. You can follow his Twitter, Facebook, etc. And second is that what I noticed from Dr. Noor Hisham is he always gives credits to his team. And that actually relates to the level 5 leadership mentioned by Jim Collins in Good to Great. And Prof. Harris also mentioned about relationship. That also relates to the relationship by giving credit to the team, etc. And next is that the way I look at him, he is very competent. He appears daily. He answers all the questions from the reporters, etc. And he is also very, very competent in his area. And I think everyone knows that he's been selected as the top 3 doctors by one association. Yeah, Chinese association. That's the 3rd one. And the 4th one is that he looked to me as an authentic leader. You look at the facial expression, you look at the gestures, and if you read the book by Bill George, Discover Your True North, then I think you will understand that what authentic leadership means. And the final one is that influential. He influenced the government decision. I think he has a big say in advising the government, and definitely I think that he win the heart of all Malaysians. And if you read the 360 leadership book by John Maxwell, I think there's one line that's been said in the book: the true measure of leadership is influence. And he has influenced the government, he has influenced us to stay at home and to stay safe. I think that he is one of the role models when it comes to leadership in crisis. And with that, I also like to thank Prof. Suria and all UMK teams. You know, I'm very lucky. I have to honestly say that UMK has a great team. We went through these challenges together, and I believe the future of UMK, inshallah, will be great. And also thanks to Professor Harris for sharing with us. I learned a lot from you, and I will get whatever books that you have mentioned from Prof. Suria. Thank you.
Well done. My heart sinking when you say thank you to every one of us. Thank you, Dato. And of course, there is a big compliment from our Vice Chancellor. And I know it's tough for you to bring us into one direction. And you work so hard days and night for the past few months. And it's actually really show the success for now. And of course, I must agree with you, Dato, who are able to capture the real leaders supposed to be during this crisis. Prof. Alma, thank you, Dato. Prof. Alma, you mind to give us few tips, few advice of how we
Absolutely, and I haven't mentioned my books there, so maybe I should mention a few of my books, Vice Chancellor. Couple of things just to say by way of conclusion, and that's to the teachers who are listening to this particular recording. Teachers are leaders every day. Without our teachers in our schools, without our teachers in our communities, this would be a much bigger struggle than it is. So I want to sort of thank the teachers in Malaysia and everywhere around the world, because they are the front line of educational experience for young people everywhere. And they're also a caring front line. So without teachers, it would be almost impossible for us to overcome this crisis. So let's recognize what teachers do, not just in schools, but in universities too. The Vice Chancellor talked about influence, and that's right. Leadership is influence. It's not about roles and responsibilities only. It's about influence, and we all have influence. We can all do good, and it doesn't matter how small your influence may be, as long as it's channeled in the same direction as everyone else. You can build powerful teams, and teams can do far more than any individual, however talented they may be. The other thing is, leaders don't create followers, they create more leaders. And I think that your Vice Chancellor's talk about the teamness is really, really important. Strong, powerful teams make organizations, not individuals. Finally, I think the glue that holds us all together and the single characteristic of exceptional leadership is trust. If I ask you, who do you trust right now in this crisis? Whatever answer you give to that question, that person is a leader. whether it's a community person, a teacher, that person is a leader. So who do you trust right now? It could be a member of your family, and if it is, they're a leader because they're keeping you together. They're keeping you sane during these sort of difficult times. And Suria alluded also to the fact that hard work. This is so much harder to do at the university level, at school level, at community level, than what our day-to-day life was before. This is significantly harder. And there's a piece of research that's just been released that shows that this online communication that we're having now is actually more emotionally draining and physically draining than sitting in a room with someone and talking to them, because the levels of concentration that you have to have are so much higher. So let's not forget the hard work, and let's acknowledge the hard work of vice chancellors, teachers, nurses, doctors, everywhere. My students out there will know that I've talked about level 5 leadership quite a lot, and I agree with the vice chancellor that at the heart of that is a degree of humility. Great leaders also have humility. They know what they can do, but they also know what they can't do and what they rely on others for. Very finally, to Malaysia, you're not just a beautiful country, you are a learning country. So in this time of crisis, I know that you'll all be learning together and working together for the benefit of all young people in Malaysia. Thanks very much for listening, and thanks so much for the time you've taken to be here.
Thank you, Prof. Alma. Of course, it's always leaders is an influencer. And when you're able to influence your community, your subordinate, it means that you are a good leader. And of course, I agree with Dato and Prof. Alma that we have to build trust among our colleagues, among our community. And of course, from Dato and Prof. Alma, you have given us in a short time a lot of criteria, a lot of tips that we should address and we should embrace. It's not easy for us to listen from the experience of the Vice Chancellor, from the experience of Prof. Alma, who has been in the leadership arena, in the leadership world, that you're able to share within an hour. Of course, there's a lot that we shared, there's a lot that you have shared within these short hours. And I saw there are a few. Can we just look at the corner there? There's a question from our participants, who asked about Mabel, you want to ask something, or you want to make it verbal? Should I read or what? We want to hear your voice, Mabel. Dr. Mabel, please hold forward.
Thanks, Prof. Suria. Now, I was just wondering about how in Malaysia the MCO was given, it was in 2-week duration. So 2 weeks extended by another 2 weeks and another 2 weeks. What are your thoughts? Do you think that we should have just announced 2 months and then maybe scale it down, or, or 1 month by 1 month? In this case, it was just 2 weeks and 2 weeks. So it kind of disrupted our lives a little bit because we anticipated coming back, and then there was another extension and another. So what are your thoughts?
Is that question for me or?
Both. Maybe both.
Yes, Prof. EC, yes.
I think it is good that I mentioned earlier that at UMK we have scenario planning. So whether at the institution or at the individual level, we need to have kind of like scenario planning as well. We should anticipate, even though the government announced a 2-week lockdown, but at the UMK level, for example, we anticipate that it can go on to 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, etc. So that we need to have that in our mind, what's going to happen. We need to anticipate that, even though the government has decided to just to announce every 2 weeks. When we do that kind of scenario planning, I believe that we won't be surprised. We will be ready whenever it comes. So, and I think, having a positive mindset is one. I think in this crisis, whether we change or we lose, So we need to keep on staying positive, and the rest will come naturally in place, inshallah.
Yeah, inshallah. I agree with you, Dato. Okay, Prof. Alma, you want to share anything?
Well, I mean, I think, Mabel, it's tricky because if you say 2 months, that could dishearten people. And if you say 2 weeks, it could encourage people to think that after 2 weeks it's going to be over. I mean, as I said earlier, it's an imperfect world right now. But there's a real balance. I mean, the Vice Chancellor's just said, you know, keeping optimistic and keeping positive is absolutely key. And recognizing that we will come out of this crisis. And while we're in the winter at the moment, summer will unduly, you know, follow, and we will see better days. And hopefully, my hope is I will get to Malaysia in person.
Yeah, we are looking forward to meet you, Prof. Alma. Yeah, there is a question, Prof. Alma, maybe it suits you, by Dr. Jaya Raj. Recently, it was highlighted that women world leaders were highlighted to be more successful than men during lockdown and COVID-19 crisis. Probably there is a correlation with nurturing behavior of women with this success. Dato, do you agree? Prof. Alma, do you agree? Or whether we can put forward to answer Dr. Jaya Raj?
I leave it to Prof. Alma.
Well, yeah, of course I'd have to agree that women are better leaders. Of course I'd have to agree that. As I said earlier, I think it's to do with levels of maybe patience, and I think some of our world leaders who are female, like the New Zealand Prime Minister, hasn't rushed towards solutions and hasn't wanted to show that she knows everything in terms of dealing with this crisis. And I think it comes back to that humility of waiting and understanding that solutions are not just ready-made, that solutions are there, but it'll take a little bit more time to find them. So I think it's that patience, it's that humility. I don't think it's about gender, it's about the characteristics of a leader who is willing to say they don't know, actually. You know, what do you do when you don't know what to do? Well, you have to do something, but rushing into the wrong solutions is probably worse than doing nothing at all.
That's a good tips. Yeah. So you are not gender biased, Prof. Alma, right? Okay. Dr. Raj, Prof. Alma has answered your question. I see that Prof. Roslina, she agreed with you about having resilience of oneself when we are facing this difficult time. Prof. Roslina, would you like to share your views? This is our Dean, Prof. Alma.
Hi, hi, Prof. Alma. It's been long not met you, right? I think for ages, right? Okay, it's nice to see you and hear from you. Well, okay. The challenge, what you said just now, is obviously very true and aligned with the resilient leadership, right? Which is very pertinent in today's situations of we are facing the MCO and the COVID-19 pandemic. Okay. The challenge that the resilient leaders may face is that how can they really sustain or maintain a healthier and productive workforce, as this is one of the resilient outcomes or resilient environment which the leader needs to foster, especially with this kind of situations. Perhaps your views on this are very appreciative. Thank you.
Prof. Alma, would you like to respond? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think resilience comes from also some sense of self-care. I mean, what we have to worry about is that our leaders are working so hard, so fast, so furiously that they themselves will burn out. They themselves will find themselves exhausted and unable to lead. So there's a balance here between being resilient and optimistic, yes, but also, as I've said earlier, taking self-care, time for yourself, time for your family, time for other things. And I know that's hard because the pressures are enormous, but really, if you don't look after yourself as a leader, you can't look after other people.
Yeah, that is very much important. Yeah. Prof. Dato, would you like to say before we close our session?
I totally agree with Prof. Alma on that leaders also need to take care of themselves. But I'm beginning to learn that there need to be a balance, because sometimes we somehow, we get carried away with work. And sometimes, because, as a leader, somehow, I think that the leader need to put institution before themselves. That's one. But sometimes, but at the same time, we cannot get carried away with that. And so we need to take care of ourselves. And thank you for the advice. I remember that. And the rest, I think it is, at the end of the day, it's about teamwork. It's not about the leaders alone. And in an organization, I think everyone is a leader in their own context and capacity. So thank you again.
I truly agree with you, Dato. And of course, leadership is not just because you want the place, but because that you're able to convince other people, you're able to influence other people that whatever aspiration that we have addressed can be moved on. Prof. Alma, before we leave, you have anything to say?
Well, apart from my, thank you very much, and the importance of recognizing that wherever we are in the world, we're facing now similar challenges. And my hope is that the divisions that sometimes get in our way and perhaps lead to less understanding and less tolerance, through this crisis, they're actually erased. Because we're all in the same situation, whether in Malaysia or England or New Zealand, we're all facing the same challenges, and we can learn from each other. So I'd like to sort of end by saying that, maybe going forward, collective leadership globally is something that we can aspire to, as well as tolerance, fairness, equity, and a sense of belonging, because we all belong to the same world and we're all facing the same challenges. So and self-care. So let's look after ourselves. We will get through this and we will meet again.
Inshallah. And I really admire when you say sense of belonging. That is very important. Okay, before we leave, anyone who would like to raise any question? Anyone of you here? I see Dr. Hashima from UPSI. Would you like to raise anything, Dr. Hashima?
Prof. Suria?
Oh yes, please, Prof. Fong.
Okay, thank you so much. Yes, thank you so much for all the enlightening sharing from Prof. Alma as well as Dato VC. To me, in this time of MCO and social distancing, the conventional approach of communication is now being totally disrupted. And as has been well said, the new norm, the new norm cannot accommodate this face-to-face communication anymore. So the main victim to me is our key stakeholders, our students. They are the victims. So I'm very touched by Dato VC saying that effective leaders are the ability to bring together everyone to contribute in a small or a big way to be part of a corporate solution. So the problem now is our students. They are at the moment, distributed all over, I guess in Kelantan and other parts. They are a victim of a poor internet, low connectivity, low bandwidth, as Dato put it. So how does UMK bring everyone together in a big way or a small way to cater for the need of our main key stakeholders, our students, so that their study can be completed. At least this semester, their studies can be completed. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think based on our survey, there are about 6% of UMK students who have no access to the internet, meaning that they are living in an area where there is no coverage. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, Prof. Suria can correct me if I'm wrong, about 20% with very low access to the speed, low speed. So, but from that figure, it means that more than 70% or close to 80% have good access to the internet. So what we do at UMK is that we will send the materials to the student who have no access to the internet. And second one is that for those with low internet access, we give them some financial assistance. If they don't have the money to buy the what we call it, the data, then they can use that money to buy the data. But recently, I think 2 days ago, the Ministry of Higher Education has got the, what we say, we call it as the kind of like approval from the Majlis Keselamatan Negara to allow students in the final year, in particular, who have no access at all to the internet to come back to campus, but with a proper SOP, etc. So that will ensure that no one will be left behind. Of course, this is not going to be perfect. It's not going to be perfect. Investment from the country, etc., will take some time. But at the moment, we will still have to go on, and we will take care of the students without internet access. There are means and ways to do that. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
I answer your question.
Prof. Fong, this is what has been taken care by our university, and Dato really give very strict emphasis that every student should be helped. Okay, time is too fast,
Hello,
Prof. Alma.
Suria.
Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you.
Suria, hi.
Okay, Prof. Yati, please forward your
Hayati
question.
here. Hayati here, Prof. Suria.
Okay, please forward. Please forward your question.
Okay, thank you very much. All this transforming from the face-to-face environment to an online environment, I think most of us, those who are the academic staff, first we panic, and then we get excited with all the technologies, and we get overwhelmed with all the trainings, and then we get exhausted. So on the part of the leaders, how do you keep your staff motivated, to go all the way till the end? So that is my question. Thank you.
Okay. You want me to answer first? Okay.
Yes, Prof. Azizi, please.
Okay, I always tell my staff that, whenever I had a chance, that we need to think of the institution first before us. That's one. And second, teaching is a very noble profession. And all these years, I think I've been to me, I think I have worked very hard, not because to get a reward for myself, but because of I love my institution, I love my students, etc. That will keep us alive as a lecturer, as a teacher. So with a positive mindset, we want to see positive things to happen. So I don't see that to me, at least, I don't feel, of course I feel tired sometimes, but that will keep you alive, even though you are tired, but you keep you moving. Yeah.
Thank you, Dato. Your sharing, it's very helpful, especially into engaging some parts of our academicians felt exhausted, felt frustrated with the technology and so forth. But that is the answer from our Dato. Maybe Prof. Alma, would you like to add on?
I guess the only thing I'd like to add, and the people online who know me will expect me to say this, is if you put your students first, if you put their needs first, if you think about their learning, because quite frankly, this is a situation that they didn't want either. they're just in this situation and their learning has been disrupted. And I think the motivation comes from knowing that everything you do, every course you take, every time you're tired, there's a student out there who needs your help. And therefore, that's where the motivation comes from. No student left behind. Every student matters. And when you're exhausted and tired and you feel that you can't do anymore, obviously, maybe take some time out, rest if you can, but think about the students, because ultimately, your care and your love for the students will get you through.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I totally agree with both of our speakers that the matter lies on the priority. Our priority is our students, so that we move forward. I think it's time off for this short and sweet session. And once again, thank you so much for the fruitful sharings by our distinguished speakers. And of course, our thanks from UMK. And I've seen there our Deputy Vice Chancellor, Prof. Rafi from Arham is also here, and almost all the deans are here too, Prof. Alma. And I see there are numbers of your former student is here. Maybe they want to say hello to Prof. Alma. Suhaila, I saw Donnie. Prof. Sailesh is there, yeah.
Hi, Prof.
Okay.
Alma,
Yeah.
Donnie here.
Hello, everyone.
Hearing you speaking and sharing, Prof, just like old times.
And it's recorded, and we will put on our FB, inshallah. Yeah. So it's
just quick thank you to Prof. Suria also as well for helping to organize wonderful sharing from Prof. Alma and also Prof. Dr. Noor as well. And now quite a number of our students are actually online from UM. And one of them actually commented, and I'm sure the voice of many as well, Prof, that they miss you very much.
Oh dear. We shall bring Prof. Alma back to Malaysia then.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. To everyone, UMK, we should thank your participations and your presence, and to both our distinguished speakers. You're all awesome. We really learn a lot within a short period of time. There's a lot of tips. There's a lot of views that you have been sharing with us. For Dato, thank you. You are so busy for these 2-3 days that he is on air yesterday, today, and also tomorrow. All the best to you, Dato. Take care. And Prof. Alma, we miss you. And of course, your sharing is so wonderful, so awesome. And of course, we here will get to the books that you have recommended. Maybe I'll get back to you to get the proper title and the authors. And of course, we will never miss and we'll never forget what you have shared to us. To everyone, thank you from India, from Indonesia. I saw from the US, yeah, and all around the world actually. Across the globe, from the west to the east, from the east to west, and we also have from Indonesia there. And of course, this is very important to us, sharing around the globe. And of course, Prof. Alma, she has written, of course, the distributed leadership book that she is so much enticed to it. And of course, you may share your articles, your latest article during the lockdown. Maybe we'll share to the participant later. To everyone, thank you so much. Take care, stay safe, and yeah, Selamat Hari Raya to everyone.
Take care, everyone. Bye.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi everyone.
Terima kasih. Selamat buka. Hari Raya.
Raya kan tu?
Selamat Hari Raya, Melaka.
Selamat Raya. Selamat Raya. Kemah Datuk pakai baju Melayu. Oh. Dia raya Datuk, dia raya.
Hari Raya, kena balik rumah.
Selamat Hari Raya, Dato' Bisi, Prof. Suria.
Thank you, Prof.
Okay. Hey, your background is so beautiful, so serene.
Yeah, it's our UMK campus, Prof. Yeah.
Oh,
Thank you, Prof. Arham.
Thank you,
everyone. Yeah, thank you, everyone.